for organizing, for sharing, for arguing, and for connecting with one another. Nonetheless, we must ask ourselves about the fact that while there are no laws censoring the internet, there are so many others in place to put bloggers behind bars, for example. And again, this is not just Malaysia, we're thinking of all other Southeast Asian countries as well. And at the same time, we are aware about social media and social media companies now largely wanting to remain unblocked in the government and therefore agreeing to take down content, such as Twitter in Pakistan, and Facebook as well. So again, it is not entirely a free space, of the internet. And then there's the existence of cyber troopers, cyber scouts, what do they call it in Thailand? Red guards in Thailand, where they would comb the internet for anti-royal material. That's in Thailand. And so that will continuously destroy the once considered democratic space, or indeed that free media space of the internet. So we need to be very careful in considering that.
Can I add? I have to answer and respond a bit to Dr. Rahman's continuous insistence of the big responsibility he has to make sure we don't get killed. Over and over again when it comes to media freedom. Go back to what Shahaba said. The responsibility of government is also to make sure that it is representative of those people who elect you. Government who listens, there will be no famine, for example. Is it not that it is incumbent upon government to make sure that those feedback system, listening to what people on the ground feel, those people way detached from Putrajaya, to be able for them to continuously voice out what they feel, and that is a key ingredient in making a good and caring government. Do not harp on about racial clashes or demonstrations. I have participated in most of the major demonstrations since I was 21. I organized a lot of them, in fact. I think it has been largely safe, largely peaceful, and in fact over the last 15 years, Malaysians overall have accepted that demonstrations, large gatherings is in fact good. So this continuous use of bogeymen, that as if the free media is an enemy of peace, that's what you are saying tonight. It is actually, that's what you're saying, because without, you keep saying, if there is a free press, then it's going to be a threat to public safety. That's what you're saying.
Okay, let's...
I can answer this, because I think it's not right for us to put words into my mouth. I'm saying that there is freedom. We are on the same wavelength here, Rafizi. Actually, you mentioned earlier on that you say it's a process. You mentioned that. I quoted it. I wrote it down here. You say it's a process. It is a process. We've got to give credit to the Prime Minister. Number one, PPPA has been amended.
I just want to assure you, you will remain in the cabinet. Don't need to...
No, it's okay.
Put Prime Minister that much.
That's low, Rafizi, you know that. We are, this is not your typical ceramah, yeah? Have some class. Anyway, I'm just saying that there is freedom of speech. Nobody is barred from saying anything in this country. Of course, I agree with Joanna. There are seditious acts. There are some peripheral laws that are governing what we say in the internet. But really, if you want to expose anything, you want to talk about anything about policy of the government, nobody's stopping you. No one. And like I said, 80% of Malaysians are wired. Why is, you're still talking about a restriction of media in this country? It is not true.
But are they encouraging and protecting you? I think that's the question. Okay,
I'm paying billions. I mean, I know the rollout of internet connection. Look, Malaysia, I'll just give you an example, very quick one. In Kota Belud, my constituency is a rural area. is about an hour and a half from Kota Kinabalu, north of Kota Kinabalu. You know, every day, my people there, you know, will be able to read Malaysian Insider first before reading Newsread Times, because Newsread Times arrives at about 12 noon. So that's how fast what Jahaba is writing on his web, on his blog, or on his portal, reaching Kota Belud. So it's just not about printing. It is about how can you reach Kota Belud people or not. And I say absolutely yes. And that's the most important thing.
Okay, just take the, back to the audience. Are there any burning questions? But maybe we'll take 3. Mark, you've had your chance. Can we just talk to some other people in the audience who haven't had a chance to speak? Just quick interventions, and then we can get the panelists to respond. So there's one there, there's one gentleman in the front, one corner, and there. So we'll take 4 very quick interventions, and then we can. Thank you.
Hello. Sorry. My name is Balraj. I have some concerns about the robustness of our, let's say some famous writers. They are saying things that echoes of the Ku Klux Klan, echoes of appetite, echoes of what the Romans did to the slaves, the themes of human history repeated. I mean, for example, recently, Mara School, non-Malay shouldn't be allowed in. I mean, isn't there echoes of black people trying to go to schools, to white schools in America? Just playing out all over again.
Thank you. We'll take another intervention.
And yes, I'm going to acknowledge that there are laws and provisions there to prosecute someone that says something nonsensical to the public. My question to the panel is that, 1, do you think that the current known prosecution cases is reported in the media, 1, justified? 2, is the current legislative system in Malaysia effective and fair in prosecuting someone to say something nonsensical, given that we have this so-called media freedom here? Thank you.
Or media freedom. Opposition party, depends on which state you're in. I've spent quite a lot of time reading media, both electronic and press. It all depends on which media I'm reading, whether pro or on one side of the political or the other side of the political divide. But when I read the news in the media, some of them give different picture and different view. We do not know which is telling truth and which is not telling the truth. How can the government or the opposition assist us, the people in the street, to understand whether or to know whether these reports are true, genuine, or just hearsay? Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to ask.
Most convincing. I'm sure the person with the most charming smile may be more convincing than That's why American elections, or some election anywhere in the world, is based on looks, appearances, utterances, image. But somewhere along the line, the facts are buried. The truth is spun out of control. So, but I'll tell you one thing: free speech, like free media, is not free lunch. You have to fight tooth and nail for it. You have to learn, you have to understand. You cannot just depend on anybody to tell you what. You make your own research. Learn, read, as I did, as everybody on this stage would have done in their entire careers. They would have read thousands of books, thousands of essays, listened to dramas like this, and you make up your mind. Don't worry about right and wrong, but just who's more effective and more convincing.
Can I ask Jabba, as a professional journalist,
what happened? Okay, most, if not all, will always give a certain viewpoint. Some of us try to be very balanced, and you won't understand what's going on, because you got to give a certain viewpoint. You got to give a certain point of view of what's going on, whether it's a parliamentary debate or whatever. I believe that the truth is how you perceive it, seriously. Okay, the facts are there, you perceive whether Minister Rahman Dahlan is right or Rafizi is right in whether Pakatan will make a better government or Barisan will always be a better government. It's up to you. And this is where the maturity for media freedom is. The people decide, not us. We just tell you what's going on. Right?
Joanne? And there's a question actually directly directed to you as well.
That's right. We'll come to that later. Right now, I mean, you choose according to your own niche, and it's according to individuals' kind of desires of what they want to read. But I also want to pick up on the role of journalists here. And I'd like to actually quote my colleague, Zarum Nayan, who actually called kind of mainstream journalists, or most mainstream journalists, transcribers, yeah? And in fact, that's what they seem to do, kind of, lay out he says, she says, or really go to one particular organization for news. I think what needs to be stressed on is the role of journalists to do investigative journalism, investigative reporting. Give audiences or give readers a balanced view, yeah, one that has been investigated, that you've gone to great lengths to find out the truth and lay out the facts for people. I think that's also very necessary for with journalism. And in relation to your question about the clampdown on bloggers in Thailand and how that could also take place in Malaysia, that was your question, was it? Yeah.
If they were effective.
If they were effective.
Can't be effective one day. I mean, yeah, we're a free country and we can say whatever we want, but if it is effective. This is not only directed to you, Dr. Joanne, it's also directed to Dato or Dato.
Dato Dahlan, yes.
So that's the thing, like if it is effective, don't you think that the government will do what's necessary to bring it down? We see this some other places in the world.
Joanne, so the question is, yeah. Do you understand the question?
Not
very simply, he's saying that if it was in fact effective and put forward pressure, it would then become the target. It might not be a target now, precisely because it's not playing, or the government doesn't perceive it to be a threat to its power base.
Right, but the government, I believe, and this has taken place within Malaysia as well, that the government does see internet and content put out by the bloggers as threats to the state and the system. And so it has pretty much been carried out by the state. Am I not addressing this question?
Well, okay, let's just shift it a little. What we have, Rahman, is a situation very recently, just today, it was announced that sedition charges will be proffered against 4 individuals. 2, because of the use of Facebook in particular ways. And the question from the corner over there was asking whether, in fact, the cases that have been brought to court, people who have been charged, now, is that justified? Is that something you personally think is a good idea? You can take any of the number of sedition cases that have been in recent times, and remembering that the Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, in 2012, I didn't vote for him, in 2012 promised that the Sedition Act would be taken off the books and replaced by a National Harmony Act. 2 years later, the Sedition Act is not off the books and is being used actively. Is that something that you agree with?
Well, the Seditious Act has not been used actively, like what you mentioned. And Najib, the Prime Minister, is still your Prime Minister, even though you didn't vote for him. I actually would like to, first of all, answer the gentleman on the other side. When, I don't believe that, I have no problem with media organization taking sides. I honestly believe. Even the, Malaysia Kini, for example, the standard bearer for the opposition, who says that Malaysia Kini is the freest of all, is actually they make stands. They take stands. In 2004, we talked about it with Azmi, Malaysia Kini clearly said, vote for the opposition. Well, we have no problem with that. The trick is to have access to multiple platforms, and you make a decision on your own. So, I would believe that the best way, jailing bloggers and whatnot, we have, luckily, hopefully, we still maintain this. We have that no censorship in the Multimedia Act, and that is entrenched in our law. So the government is still sticking by. The Prime Minister is opening up. That you cannot deny. He's opening up, but we got to help him to open more, rather than criticizing every step of the way. He's only human. He needs to be encouraged. And one way to do that when he opens up a bit, when he abolished ISA, say, that's good. And when he said he wanted to do away with Seditious Act, then Malaysians must get matured real fast. Because we need to tell the Prime Minister that we are ready. sometimes I feel that we are not ready. It is not about, there's a difference between what my friend Jahaba and Rafizi talking about. Criticizing the government is not a problem here. You can criticize the government. You guys have been doing that. What we are worried about are those seditious statements that will lead this country to chaos. That is the responsibility of the government. Now,
sir, who decides what's seditious? Can you define sedition?
That's what I'm saying.
Can you define sedition?
Well,
take the next 30 seconds and define sedition.
Well, the act is there. The act is there. I don't have the act with me, but of course when you talk about, race, religions and all that, let's not go there, Jahaba. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Ask me that question 10 years from now. But right now the government is responsible for the security and peace of this country. You can criticize the wait. You can criticize the government. If tomorrow you write anything about the government, nobody's going to stop you. No way.
Okay.
No, yeah,
I'm going to stop you right there and give the to
that's the difference. Yeah.
I actually want to respond to Barraj, is it? Because what he brought up is actually one aspect of our debate tonight which has totally been buried or ignored. We have been talking about print and internet press. I still feel that the deciding factor when it comes to a free flow of information to the public in this country is actually the TV. In many remote areas, in Sabah, in Sarawak, in the longhouses, in the rural areas where people predominantly rely on television, this is where it goes back to what the minister said. It is not about what a particular media publishes, but it's a question of having options to multiple sources of information in order for you to decide. And this is where, for the people in rural areas, in Sabah, in Sarawak, in the fixed deposits area of Barisan Nasional, they did not have the options for multiple sources because they rely heavily and almost exclusively on television provided and controlled by the government. In fact, if you go to Sarawak, Sharat, I will bring you one day, you go to the longhouses, you'll be surprised because you see all these satellite dishes in the most remotest longhouses. You know what it is? It is a specific Astro channel for the longhouse and sponsored by Astro, work by government. Content, you know what content is. So that's why it goes back to what Badra said. I think the problem in our society is when, in the absence of free media, independent, objective, honest free media, the media cannot play its important role in educating and uplifting the society. What happens is the opposite. The media, in my opinion, under Barisan Nasional, has been used to dumb down the society. And that's why it's extremely, if Rahman keeps on talking about the danger that media poses on society, that danger is Barisan Nasional.
Okay.
Because you continuously use the media when it comes to race-relation issues, for example, to plant these ideas without giving the same avenue and time and space for opposite opinion to address and to debate it.
Okay, so we have that. We have actually going to extend the debate for just 10 minutes. I think it's an opportunity for both media professionals and academics and politicians on this panel to actually hear what you think. What do you value? What do you want? How do you want the situation to change or improve?